Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to present one of the most anticipated budgets in the Parliament today, the Budget 2021 to be the first budget of the decade. Budget 2021 to be the first ever digital-only budget. Announcements in the budget likely to boost economy to the pre-COVID levels and create jobs. Ahead of Budget 2021, the economy shows signs of further improvement. The GST revenues touches 1.2 lakh crore during January this year, the highest since introduction of the GST and the revenue collected. Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi and other senior figures detained in late-night raid on the ruling party. The move came after days of escalating tension between the civilian government and the military in the aftermath of an election the army says was fraudulent. Hello and good morning. You're watching DD India with me, Nancy Kohli. A top story. The Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the Union Budget for 2021-22 today at 11 this morning in the Lok Sabha. This year, for the first time, the Union Budget will only be available in the digital format and can also be accessed through mobile application The Union Budget, both on Android and the iOS platforms. Prime Minister Modi on Friday had expressed confidence that the budget would be seen as part of the packages announced by the Finance Minister over the past 10 months to offset the impact of the COVID-induced lockdowns. The economic survey for 2020-21 pegged the real GDP to be at 11% in the next fiscal. And let's take a look at some of the interesting facts about the budget. Well, the word budget is derived from baguette, which means small bag in French. The first ever Indian budget was presented by James Wilson, a Scottish economist and politician in 1860. The first independent budget of India was presented by R.K. Shanmughan Chetty on 26 November 1947. The budget was printed at Rashtrapati Bhavan until 1950 when it got leaked. Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister to present the Union Budget. He held the Finance Minister portfolio from 1958 to 59. Until 1955, the Union Budget was presented in English. After that, the budget was printed in both Hindi and English. Morarji Desai presented the maximum number of budgets, that's 10, between 1962 to 69 during his tenure as the Finance Minister. The 1973-74 budget is known as the Black Budget in India. The budget deficit was 550 crore rupees. Till 2016, the budget was presented on the last working day of February. Former Finance Minister Arun Jaitley changed the tradition to the 1st of February. The railways and Union Budget were presented separately till 2017, after which they were merged into a single presentation. On the 5th of July in 2019, Nirmala Sitharaman became the second woman to present the Union Budget after former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1970-71. In 2019, Nirmala Sitharaman ditched the traditional budget briefcase. She instead carried a red packet with the national emblem wrapped with a ribbon. While the Union Budget 2021 goes paperless and the hard copies are not to be printed for the first time in history, ahead of the budget, a halwa ceremony is held in the Ministry of Finance, while the traditional dessert is distributed to the staff of the ministry. All right, let's go across now to our correspondents to get a sense as to what really the people of this country are expecting as far as the budget 2021 is concerned. Let's go across to Vishal Barrister, who is joining us from Delhi. Also joining us from Guwahati is Smita. Vishal, good morning. Let me come to you first. What's the sense that you are getting from the people here, especially in the national capital? Of course, at 11 we'll know finally what the budget contains, what all it comprises. But what are you hearing as far as the expectations of the people?
Well, a very good morning to you, Nancy. The doors behind me would decide the fate of Indian economy post-pandemic, and going by the words of Finance Minister herself, it's going to be unprecedented budget. So the government has got a tough task at hand, the Finance Minister also, because post-pandemic there are a lot of challenges, consolidating the economy,
Right.
and also keeping in view of all the challenges, keeping the people, public at large in good humor. Remember, inflation is rising, so it is going to be a tough task, but we are all hoping for the best. And as you heard that it's going to be a paperless budget, and this is for the first time that this is going to be a paperless budget, but we are all hoping for the best because we all had a very tough time. This is going to be Nirmala Sitharaman's fourth budget under NDA.
Right.
So we are all hoping for the best, and people have all hopes that the government would do something to revive the economy, but at the same time the government has to consolidate the economy as well.
Sure.
So we are all hoping for the best.
Okay, absolutely. In fact, it's going to be an important one because, this is going to be a budget of the decade and, unprecedented times really. The whole world is battling COVID-19 and the way really, India has fought COVID-19, many stimulus packages were given and really wading its way through the tough times, the hard times really, and perhaps that is something that needs to be taken forward in this budget as well, maintaining fiscal discipline, consolidating the economy, reviving demand. So that's really, a lot on the agenda in this budget. Vishal.
Well, absolutely. You heard that we have a halwa ceremony here. So halwa is going to be hot and sweet as well. This is what I can say. And yes, we need to take that thing forward because India has had a very good fight with the pandemic because despite being the second most populated country in the world, we have won over the pandemic and now it is reduced to minimal. Then we have also had this vaccine program,
Sure.
a successful vaccine program, and now India is not keeping that to itself, it is also giving it to
Absolutely.
its neighbors, Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan. So
Yes,
the
8 countries
program
now.
is going on successfully, but that has to be carried forward too, and that would also be reflected in the budget.
Absolutely. The unprecedented times that we have seen, Vishal, vis-a-vis the COVID-19 pandemic, one thing that's come to the fore is how really the public health exigencies need to be met and, they need to be met very accurately and precisely. For that, would you say that this budget would make that provision of having more allocation towards the public health spending, the health sector really, that's going to be one of the big focuses?
Well, certainly, because Nancy, the public health would decide the health of the economy, and if we were not able to fight the pandemic, then we would have been in a very bad situation because
Yeah.
India has a tropical climate, also
Sure.
the second most populated country in the world. So there were a lot of challenges, but since our public health is in a better shape now, so we can hope for a better budget and better economy, but at the same time we need to carry forward that program, and for that we need some hard measures. So the people of the country will have to understand that the government is fighting very hard and the government is all there for we the people, and so
Yeah.
we have to take
Sure.
accept as to what all measures taken by the government, because the government will have to find it very hard to consolidate the economy at the same time taking on the challenges of post-pandemic, because India was not the only country but across the world the rising fuel prices is a result of the pandemics. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. So it's going to be an unprecedented budget, as the Finance Minister herself said.
And this is also going to be the first digital budget, Vishal, and this is something we need to tell our viewers about, where they can actually read the contents of this budget on the application Union Budget if they download it from the Play Store. This is available on both iOS and Android platforms. Just tell us more about it. How can the viewers really access to it and, the significance of this being the first ever digital budget?
Well, this is a very good step taken by the government, because post-pandemic everything is going digital, and presenting the digital budget would be Nirmala Sitharaman, and it would also be available through different apps to the public, so they can see it, they can read it, they can analyze it, and though we have experts all over, Doordarshan would be giving live but still they have the copy with them, because the digital copy would, all soft copy would be available to them all the time, so they can read and think and also plan for the future. So it is going to be a very, very interesting budget, because as I've been telling you that post-pandemic there were a lot of challenges, and digital budget is something, a very good step taken by the government, so that people across the country can see and analyze the budget. Also, not only in India but abroad also, because a lot of people of Indian origin, they are staying abroad as well. So they would also be keenly looking forward to this budget, because India has had a very tough time, but at the same time a very good victory against the pandemic.
And you know, another sector apart from health and the public health spending that may be enhanced, Vishal, another aspect of course would be employment, more jobs, and you know, really giving more room for innovation. What are you hearing in terms of that and people's expectations from the budget this time on that front?
Well, absolutely, employment has always been the issue of every budget, but this time it is going to be very, very different, because now we are changing from, transforming from the physical appearance to the online attendance and online jobs. So I think the government would be focusing more on that, because now the technology is going to be playing a major role, and the role of technology, we have already seen the virtual technology, the hybrid technology, and also employment in these areas, and also the role of computers and software and artificial intelligence. So these are the topics that would that could find a mention in the budget. At the same time, there's a lot of talk about the cryptocurrency, especially the government has been planning a framework so that RBI can come out with it. So we can also expect something on those lines also.
Okay. All right, Vishal, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates. We'll, of course, be coming back to you and our other reporters as well through our continuous coverage here on DD India that begins at 8 this morning. We'll be analyzing bit by bit the expectations and also, in fact, the live coverage of the budget presentation in the Lok Sabha at 11 this morning. All right, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the first budget of this decade today. And what are really the expectations, how the government has held the common man during the COVID-19 pandemic? This and more in this report.
The budget 2021 is going to be historic in more ways than one. This is going to be the first ever digital-only budget. There are many questions and high hopes from this budget. The first question which one would ask: will this budget take the country out of the problems and hardships caused due to pandemic? What steps the finance minister will announce to check inflation and to put the country back on track to make it the world's fastest growing economy once again? To get answers of all these questions, all eyes will be on the budget to be presented on February 1st. Another question which one is keen to ask: if finance ministry would make any new announcement about a new tax or cess. Faced with resource constraint, will budget bring in new tax or cess of tax? Will budget 2021 bring any good news to promote and boost private investment? Just ahead of the budget session of Parliament, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had hinted that this budget is going to be a next step towards Atmanirbhar Bharat.
भारत के इतिहास में पहली बार हुआ कि 2020 में एक नहीं, हमें वित्त मंत्री जी को अलग अलग पैकेज के रूप में एक प्रकार से 4-5 मिनी बजट देने पड़े। यानी 2020 एक प्रकार से लगातार मिनी बजट का सिलसिला चलता रहा, और इसलिए ये बजट भी उन 4-5 बजट की श्रृंखला में ही देखा जाएगा, ये मुझे पूरा विश्वास है।
The country's economy has started showing signs of recovery following contraction caused by the lockdown. As per estimates, India's GDP is estimated to contract by 7.7% during 2020-2021. However, according to the economic survey, India's real GDP to record 11.0% growth in financial year 2021-2022. To put in other words, the first budget of this decade is going to be crucial as far as the world's fastest growing economy is concerned. Last year, total expenditure was pegged at 30.42 lakh crore rupees. Government had announced a third set of measures under the government's Atmanirbhar Bharat package. A stimulus of nearly 30 lakh crore rupees was announced in the third tranche of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan package, which was equivalent to roughly 15% of the country's GDP. 80 crore people got free ration for 8 months under PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Government spent more than 1,92,000 crore rupees under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, providing free food grains and cash payment to women and poor senior citizens and farmers. Over 14 crore free-of-cost cylinders provided to women under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Production-linked incentive worth 1.42 lakh crore rupees announced for 10 champion sectors to help boost competitiveness of domestic manufacturing. This year, 1,13,000 crores has been spent for welfare of farmers, while there was a provision of only 75,000 crores. Throughout the year, the government worked in tandem with RBI, helping the poor cope with COVID-19 and subsequent economic stress. About 13 lakh crore rupees liquidity was provided to the banks and financial institutions for the benefit of businesses, besides giving relief on loan interest to the common man. Last year, the finance minister had given the option of a new tax slab to taxpayers. To sum up, there is a high expectation among people that Finance Minister will certainly make new announcement in the budget to boost the employment without putting any new tax burden on the common man. Notably, there is a renewed vigor and excitement and hope in the country following the launch of world's largest vaccination drive against COVID-19. Expectations are also high from the Finance Minister to put forward some new innovative ideas and schemes to achieve the goal of self-reliant India. Ajay Mishra's report for DD India.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Mridu Smita, who is joining us from Guwahati this morning. Mridu Smita, good morning. Just take us through what are you hearing from the people there across the state? What are they telling you? What are they looking forward to in this budget?
Yes, Nancy, since because of the pandemic, there have been lockdown and many things happened last year in 2020, because of which most of the businesses were like they had to undergo various losses, because of which the expectation from the traders is that more relief is given to them, especially the GTP, which is for the smaller businessman. It is a kind of a burden right now, because almost their shops, their little kinara shop, like almost it was under shut down. So in that case, they are expecting from the finance minister that they will be given much relief on that.
Okay.
And especially if I talk about the various sectors like insurance also and the health sector, they are also expecting that there will be much some kind of announcement on that, so that people get further relief on the medical issues, because they are undergoing various types of issues on that due to the virus, definitely. And yes, people are expecting that much relief is given to them on the taxation, as more people are undergoing work from home, so there have been pay cuts from their various offices and all.
Right.
And yes, they are also expecting that their EMIs and such kind of tax that they have to pay, there is a relief on that as well, Nancy.
Okay, sure. All right, Mridu Smita, request you to please continue being with us. Let's go across now to Shishir as well, who's joining us from the financial capital, Mumbai, this morning. Shishir, good morning. There, of course, we are hearing that the MSME sector, which is considered the backbone of the economy, looking for some relief in this budget. What can you share with us, the pulse, that's the sense that you're getting from the financial capital?
Well, absolutely, Nancy. If you look at the entire market at this point in time, it has actually crossed 50,000 mark just a couple of days back here. And of course, thanks to the V-shaped recovery that we have seen in the Indian economy, and that's what even the economic survey, when it was stable on Friday, it shows that even in future also we'll see that sharp recovery in all sectors here, be it manufacturing, service. Agriculture was a bright spot which was highlighted, but apart from that, the other sectors also will also pick up in a near future. You're talking about the financial capital, especially in Mumbai. We talk about the stock market. As I told you, that stock market have already crossed 50,000 mark just a couple of days back here. But obviously, there's some concerns on it, because the economic survey said that in spite of that we have seen the pandemic situation here, the stock markets and the stock prices were actually soaring here. But the actual real pictures of the real sector is something different, and that's a reason we have to think about that, and probably there will be a correction in the market also. And that's why if you look at the entire year, especially from the April to December 2020, we have seen here that the foreign institutional investors have invested in the market a lot, and that's the reason we have seen the pickup in the market. Obviously, now we have to look after that how long this pickup and how long this the stock price will continue here. But we have to be very cautious, and the same cautions have also been somewhere been mentioned in the economic survey.
Okay. All right, Shishir and Mridusmita, request you both to please stay on with us. Let's in fact take a look at this story now. The gross GST revenue collected in the month of January this year has almost touched 12 lakh crore rupees, while the GST till 6 in the evening on 31st of Jan this year stands at around 1,19,847 crore rupees, of which 21,293 crore rupees is the CGST. And the state GST is around 29,014 crore rupees. The integrated GST is 60,288 crore rupees. And in line with the trend of recovery in the GST revenues over the past 5 months, the revenues for the month of January this year are 8% higher than the GST revenues in the same month last year. During the month, the revenues from import of the goods were 16% higher, and the revenue from domestic transaction are 6% higher than the revenues from these sources during the same month last year. And let's once again go back to our correspondent Shishir Shalar, who is joining us, in fact, joining us from Mumbai. Shishir, when we talk about different sectors here, one of the sectors that really, looked very critical, especially battling COVID-19 pandemic, was the health sector. What are you hearing, how much focus is there going to be on the health sector, the infrastructure? Of course, education is one important sector as well. Leaving room for innovation, that is something that some special provision that could be created, or, some special mention or allocation could be made on that front. Shishir, can you hear me?
Yes, Nancy, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are so many different sectors that we're talking about, and especially when you talk about the pandemic situation, we have to think about each and every sector here. Obviously, health sector, we have seen that government has spent a lot since last few months here, since last March also, and that's the reason. The other sectors have taken a bit of it. It's not because of the internal factors, also many external factors are also involved in it. For example, if I take the manufacturing sector, the steel sector, looking at that, the demand for the steel obviously and manufacturing has reduced considerably in the last year. But now when we see the economic survey, which was stable on Friday, it shows that in going forward, the steel consumption will pick up, ultimately will help the manufacturing sector to boost up. So obviously that sector need to be taken care of. At the same time, when we talk about the service sectors also, the service sector also have taken a hit here, because after agriculture and manufacturing, the service sector is also contribute quite heavily to the GDP here, and that's the reason government is focused on how to give boost to service sectors also. Various measures have also been announced by the government, the booster packages that we have seen since March till December, when the finance minister time and again was taking various decisions here, so that we can see that success and the leading story of the service sector continued here. At the same time, we've also seen here that MSME that we're talking about, that given a booster to them. Many MSME have got grant from the government also, and the loans also at various interval here, and that actually survived to the entire sector. But now when talking the budget here, what are these different sectors going to get is a major point here. Obviously, from Mumbai perspective, if you look, the corporate sector looks quite important. Many of the corporates have said that the last year was completely disaster for them, but ultimately, as the vaccines comes in the market, we have seen that Indian vaccines have also picked up the international market as well, and that's a reason, that's a bright spot. Even they're getting benefiting from it, and that's the reason the corporates seeing at this point in time that the future going ahead now will be quite a different one. The government have taken steps in the past also, and during pandemic situation, when we talk about the booster 1 and at regular interval the booster 2, the stimulus given by the finance minister to different sectors here, those have started yielding the results now. Even the RBI have also
Sure.
have pointed out this particular things when RBI have
Okay.
also came out with a monetary policy here. Now
Right.
we are at the turning edge that probably going forward this is probably the lowest we have seen here, but now we have to see a sharp recovery, and that's
Sure.
the reason the V-shaped recovery that we have seen in the economic survey also and in real numbers also going forward. This particular the first quarter of this fiscal year probably quite important for the Indian economy.
All right, Shishir Shala, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates. Let's go across now to Mridu Smita as well. Mridu Smita, this is being looked at as a budget with a ray of hope, really, amidst a lot of challenges. There was something positive also that came out in terms of the IMF forecast, and the way Indian economy stood strong with strong fundamentals and, fought really this unprecedented time. So in that sense, for this to be carried forward in this budget is something going to be, worth looking at how the focus continues to be on, on the strong fundamentals and also reviving demand there, especially in these challenging times for all of us.
Yes, definitely, Nancy. As people have faced, they had to undergo a lot of things during this pandemic, and people had lost mostly the sector of employment, where people had also had to lost their jobs, because of which they have returned back to their homes. That is also another issue, the unemployment issue, because of which the government is also expected, the people are expecting that they will be given some kind of relief on that. And yes, the government is coming out, especially here in Assam, with various schemes so that they can revive back, they can get back to their own. The various agricultural sector they have opened so that they can, the youth of the nation, they can come forward and look forward for the agricultural sector, as they can get more and more opportunities from it. That is also looking for, the people can look forward to. And yes, this budget is expected to give a lot of relief to the people, and yes, the taxation, which is a burden for especially the middle class people, and they are expecting that more relief are given to them as well. And yes, the sectors like tourism sector is also expected to explore. People can explore on that because since a few months back, from November itself, the tourism sector has also opened, and they are also expecting that from this budget they will also get some kind of help from the union government. And yes, this kind of sectors should be given more prior to. And yes, the health sector, which is currently the issue, which is getting the priority, and the infrastructure development, especially in the northeast, should get much preference as well. And people are expecting that the finance minister will be coming out with such kind of steps, Nancy.
All right, Mridu Smita and Shishir, thanks very much to both of you for joining us and sharing all those insights and perspective here on DD India. But our continuous coverage here as far as the budget analysis, the expectations and the coverage as well that takes place at 11 this morning in the Lok Sabha will continue here on DD India. Moving on now to some more news, the Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi and other senior figures from the ruling party have been detained in an early morning raid, the spokesperson for the governing National League of Democracy has said. While the move has come after days of escalating tensions between the civilian government and the powerful military that stirred fears of a coup in the aftermath of an election the army says was fraudulent. The spokesperson has told a news agency by phone that Suu Kyi, president and other leaders had been taken in the early hours of the morning. He has also appealed to people not to respond rashly and act according to the law. The spokesperson for Aung San Suu Kyi's ruling National League for Democracy said with the situation, the party now assumes that the military is staging a coup. And we'll closely follow what happens there in Myanmar and the rest of the world as well here on DD India. But for now, it's a wrap on this broadcast. Thanks for being with us.